Hi, I am Zip, and this is DingoTalk.
You wanna know by now. You wanna know by now. You wanna know by now. You wanna know. You wanna know. You wanna know.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest, Zip Shearer. Zip, thank you for taking the time to sit down with us.
Yep, you paid me handsomely. Thank you very much.
So I got to ask you first and foremost, because the people that are going to watch this, I work with them. They're going to ask me, or this is the question that I was told I had to ask you.
Okay.
Where does Zip come from? Because you're not the first Zip, right? There's two Zips before you.
There are none.
There are no Zips.
Nope, I'm the first.
Oh,
there are two Zips after me. Well, they're Zippies, not Zips. I'm the Zip. They're both Zippies.
Now, where does Zip come from? How does that
nickname? It was just a nickname that my dad had a friend that had that name, and he liked to use that. The better story I tell is that when I was little, we went to Cooper's Rocks, and we were on the cliff, and I fell off, and my zipper caught and saved my life, so he named me Zip.
See, is that the story you want to put in? Or do
Sure.
You want both of them?
Absolutely.
All right, so you were born and raised here in this area in Morgantown, correct?
Yep. Yes.
You graduate from Morgantown High School. When do you decide that you're going to stay local and go to WVU? When was that
that was always my goal, was to stay here and go to WVU.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy Morgantown. I like Morgantown. I like West Virginia University, and there was no reason for me to go anywhere else, because an education is what you make out of it, and I made a lot out of mine.
And major was already decided? Did you know what you were going into, or did you?
No, not like most people. I went into something that I thought that I would like, because I was good with numbers and stuff. So I went into engineering and quickly realized that wasn't my field. And so then I changed fields at the end of the first semester, and I liked business, and it was the right decision.
So you're going to WVU in the 60s, correct?
Well, I graduated from high school in 65. So I started college here at 65. Yes.
What was campus like? Is it similar to what we see now? Is it
no, it was mainly one campus.
Wow.
And all the bars were over in Sunnyside, and there were none downtown. And so they did have them out there, but not as big as it was as it is now. So it was a little more, I would tell you, friendly.
It was a smaller community as opposed to now. It's a bigger community now compared to.
I think we were probably at maybe 22 to 25,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as you're going through school, what was the goal when you came out? Did you always want to get into real estate, or was there something else that you wanted to do with the business degree?
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. When I was in school,
mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was in high school, and I said, when I was coming out and going to college, I said, if I make $1 million, I'll be one happy guy. So my goal was to try to figure out how to make $1 million. And we all know that you can't make that off of a salary. So you had to have some ingenuity. So when I was in college, I finished regular school,
mm-hmm.
and then I was married, and I was married with a child. I lived up by what used to be the old University High, mm-hmm. which is now the middle school, and it was called the Baby Farm. So where all those new apartments are, they had apartments around there, and you had to be married with a child. And they charged you $81.80 a month, and that included cable, furniture, and everything. So it was a great deal for me.
Wow.
And I met a lot of people and a lot of friends up there when we were up there, and we did a lot of things together as groups and families. So when I got done with my degree, I said, I'm not ever going back to school. I was tired of school. I'm not going back to school. So I took a job with the coal company here in Morgantown. I was going to be their personnel director. And so I had to train for 6 months, which meant working in the mines for 6 months so that I could understand what I was talking, and knowing more about people, knowing more about the job when I would be interviewing them and offering them positions.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, but then the person whose job I was supposed to take, he got, did not end up getting promoted. So I went back to school to get my master's, and I was always going to get my master's anyway. So I was married with one child. I worked during the day and I took classes at night. So I have a master's degree in industrial safety. So when I got done with school.
Can I ask, why did you choose, when you went for your master's, why was that what you chose to go for?
Well, I wanted to diversify a little bit. I figured that I had a pretty good business background, pretty good business degree. And I felt that at that time, the university had just opened up safety. And I knew a couple people in safety, and it was a pretty good opportunity for you to get advancement because they were limited. So I got a degree in industrial safety, and it took me, I think it took me maybe 4 years. It was a 2-year program, but I think around 4 years.
Well, and you're working.
And going to school.
So you're working during the day, going to school at night. So, so doing a 2-year program, it's kind of crazy you finished it in 4 years because of the other schedule.
Right. And back then, when you took the program, they had just really opened up the program, which is still here now. And the way it normally worked is you did a lot of stuff in groups, which I didn't like groups. I like, doing your own thing. You did some of your own things, and then you did a lot of stuff in groups. And you well know in a group, not everybody carries their own weight. But the reason they put people in groups to find out who could rise to the top. And then whenever they had job opportunities come in and they knew who you were and they knew what you did, then you got the top line job opportunities. And so fortunately for me, I got a job in Marietta, Ohio, working for First Colony Corporation, and they built industrial bulk storage silos all over the country. That was for coal, and out west when they were first opening up, Gillette, Wyoming. All that stuff there. So I got a job with them in their safety program. So that worked very well for me. So I said that I would work in my field for 5 years. That way, if I failed in business, then I at least have that to fall back on. But if I never used it, then it became obsolete.
Absolutely. So you get through that 5 years, and I'm guessing you travel a lot with that. You're not just in Marietta, Ohio.
No, I traveled a lot. I still lived in Morgantown, and I had a house in Marietta. But yes, I did travel a lot, but it was more like when I would go, it would be 2 days. If I'd go out to Wyoming, we would fly out. Lots of time we flew on a private plane because the company had a private plane.
So after that 5 years, what's the next step? Do we come straight to getting here?
During that 5 years, and when I was in college in the master's program, there was an opportunity that became available on a duplex. There was a duplex that was going into foreclosure. A friend of mine was at this bank at this time, Perry Petropolis, and he called myself and my cousin Pat Alexander, and he said, "Look, I got this duplex coming available. Are you guys interested in it?" And we said, "Yeah, we're interested in it." So we ended up getting the duplex. It's up on Union Avenue. It's still there now. And we started with that. It had 2 5-bedroom units on each side, and we went in and we finished out the bottom to make it 5 bedrooms, and then we used that, and then we went over on Lorenz Avenue, and we got another place, and then we got another place, and we kept using the equity and what we had to get some apartments. And then down on Beechhurst Avenue, at one point in time back there, that's when they had interest rates really high, and the inflation was going on, and there was a gentleman that was by the name of Emsweller that had one of these fire companies that did extinguishers and stuff like that. He was old. He wanted to retire. So we talked him into getting about 10 apartments off of him, and he owner financed them. So that's how we got started.
So you start with, if I'm right, you start with 10 total rooms on 2 duplexes, but 10 total rooms. 10
beds.
10 beds.
I never use beds. I still don't use beds today. I use this either a 2-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom, but I don't count beds. I either got 50 apartments. I don't say I got 100 beds.
Yeah. So how do you work your way from town to, or well, I guess downtown to out where we are now, where we're sitting right now? How do we get
it's
to-
okay. So when I was in Marietta,
Mhm.
we owned X amount of apartments, my cousin Pat and I did. And so I got a big job offer from Avax Coal out in Indianapolis. And it was a very good offer. And I said to myself, you know, pretty big offer going out there. I got a family. So I told him yes, that I would do it. And then it was like a month before I had to be there, and it just didn't sit right with me. I just really did not want to go work for somebody else, but did not have enough apartments to be able to make a living. So I had to find something else to do to be able to stay in Morgantown. So that's when I started building houses. So I built houses, and then we had apartments. And
Separately, they're not the same company at that point. It's
no, I built houses on my own. Pat and I owned the apartments
Okay.
together, okay? But Pat and I never built apartments together. We just owned some. And then
that was me.
you're a little clumsy. So I started building houses out in Lakeside Village. I built a lot of houses out there because my cousin's father owned a bunch of the lots. So he subordinated a bunch of lots for me, and then I ended up getting more. So I built houses, and then Pat and I had this amount of apartments, and then Pat went a little bit over here and started doing some stuff, and I went over here. So our apartment business really didn't grow after that.
Yeah.
And then he had the opportunity with Larry Palumbo, because Larry Palumbo's uncle owned Bon Vista, to go ahead and go in on Bon Vista when Carmen wanted out of it. And I had started doing apartments on my own. So I started down on McLean Avenue building apartments. Back then, they had a thing which was sweat equity. So you didn't have to put down 20% on the thing because, for instance, if I would go build these apartments myself, I don't have someone else I'm paying to build them. So that difference between what I can build them for and what I have to pay him, the bank took as sweat equity.
So you didn't have to worry about.
I didn't have to worry about putting any money down. It was a matter of building the apartments and making them cash flow so they felt that they were comfortable. So you build a building, and then if the cash flow, then you could go do another one. So as different properties came available, I would go ahead and buy a property like over on by the stadium over there.
Yeah.
Then I have all those buildings coming down there on Inglewood. So I bought a lot of property on Inglewood that was farmland back there myself personally, and then I built them. So then to get to the story about it, you needed to be able to move up. You started out building duplexes or 4 at a time, and then maybe you built like 16, but you needed to be able to get to a bigger complex.
Well, and the end goal, as you said, your end goal was you couldn't make $1 million on a salary.
Yeah.
Make $1 million to be the happiest man in the world.
Yeah.
And you can't do that unless you continue to do this.
Right.
And land helps with that.
Well, and land in the right location. The one thing I've always learned is it's about location, location, location. And that's very, very important. And Inglewood didn't have a lot of stuff on it. You see what it has on it now over by the Ronald McDonald House.
Wow.
And so I really own about 4 blocks of apartments over there. But we got that done and we built those. But in order to take the next step to a bigger project, you sort of had to consolidate. And so a friend that was a banker at BB&T, this property, 7 acres of this property here became available.
And that's, you and I talked about this I think it was about 2 weeks ago, where we were getting to know how we were going to do the show, and you said it wasn't that the whole property was yours.
No.
You had specifics, and then
there were 7 acres that came available. There were some old trailers up here where the 2,600 buildings were, and they were like, they had 1 bedrooms on each end. But the person that had the property just used them for storage
Okay.
and never used them as income, so he could make his payments. So we had an opportunity to take it over, and my cousin Stevie, and then Stevie's friend, who was Cliff, they really talked to Stevie and Cliff first, and then Kenny and Stevie came to me because I was the one that had built apartments. Stevie did mobile home sales, and Cliff worked at the mobile home sales, but I was the one that had the knowledge to build, to maintain, and to run the property.
So let me stop you there. So where we're looking at right now, and they obviously, the people at home can't see that, but when we're sitting in your office and we're looking up at the hill where the 25 and 26 is,
Right.
before it was,
Everything was a field around there except for those trailers.
and that
So
was,
where MN&O and 27, 2800 buildings,
it was just a
they
field.
were fields. And then starting with A, B, all the way around where the office is. The office was owned by somebody else. No, there wasn't an office here.
Yeah,
There was nothing here. A guy came in and he built a building here and sold parking spaces to people who want to tailgate, $7,000 for a lifetime.
it's not a bad.
And had, well, it wasn't a bad deal, but once you get to $7,000, then you're out of money. You know, then you still got to give the people the
The
service.
spot, that's
Yeah,
there.
exactly
Lifetime
right.
spot, that's there.
Yeah, you get it, but
Do they get
then
the
it goes
pass?
broke.
Did they get to pass this lifetime spot?
Well, they get it when they went broke, then they all,
Yeah.
when he filed for bankruptcy, it all went away. So, but we started out there. So the first building we actually built, we cleaned up the mobile homes
Mhm.
and we rented them out. And then that allowed us to have enough income to make the payments.
Yeah,
So then we went to the bank, same guy that helped us out, get the property. And so he said he would help us with building. So we were allowed to build 2 buildings. So each building had 6 apartments in it. 2 bedrooms, 2 3-bedrooms. So we could build, which was the A building and the B building. And then once we got 80% of them rented, then we could move over to the C building. So that's how we got started. So over a period of time, we started building, and then we got the A and the B buildings, and then we did where MN&O is right there, and then we had our office down in one of those 2 bedrooms in the bottom.
now, why the design the way that it is? Because it's one way, but it's not one way, because you can go all the way out to the bottom over on the other side of the property. And who was your clientele at first? Was it always
They were always students.
It's always been
This was
students.
always a student rental property.
Okay.
It's still students.
Yeah,
We don't, there's other people that, that have leased here. Our statement to them is, we want you to understand this is a student rental. So if you're bringing kids and a family in here, you got to understand they're students. We don't advise it, but we cannot deny you.
yeah.
So we have very few of those.
And so you get through you're in MN&O, which again, from where we're sitting, you can
Yeah.
see it.
We
right
did
over
A,
there.
B, A and B,
AB,
Then we did
80%.
and then we did M&O.
Now, and your offices are there.
We had a office in the 2-bedroom, and we had one girl that worked for us down there.
So what was the next? So now you have the cash flow coming in, you're starting to build buildings. How do you make your way all the way to 918?
Well, that's a different story.
Okay.
So,
We'll finish this.
right now, we got to look at A, B, C, D, and E, F and G, and J, K, and L.
Mhm.
Those were the ones that were on the original property.
Okay.
Okay, that was the original 7 acres. So we built those out. Now, we always build over time. We didn't run in and build everything. We enjoy building them and be able to cover ourselves, and then we go build again. So we build up cash flow. So that's the first stuff we did.
Mhm.
And then if you go down here, we have the very first building around here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this went under. So we went to Frank Matuzik, who used to have the mobile home sales up on the mile ground,
Mhm.
and we said, listen, why don't you sell it to us? We're here. Well, he wanted a lot of money for it, and I said, look, you're broke. The place went under explain to me how you're gonna be able to make money off of this. We could use it, and the building, which is here, it just had a top floor, was no heat in it, 2 fireplaces and a concrete
Yeah.
floor. So we finally got it to a reasonable price, and so we went ahead and we bought it, and then we moved our office down here, and we sort of fixed it up, but the underneath was never done.
Mhm.
We got that all done, and then we put the pool in because we wanted to do the pool. So when we did the pool, our pool's an Olympic size pool. And it's 10 feet at the end. It's a very big showcase for
And
us.
where are we at in year wise? Where are we?
Well, we started in 1989.
Okay,
So we're probably 10 years down the road.
okay. So we're now going into the 2000s.
2000s,
We're coming up to we're at the millennium and
We went into 2000. So between probably 2000 and 2008, we finished doing all this. So we took this property over.
Mhm.
We built the office, put the swimming pool in, okay?
Mhm.
And then we went ahead and put the apartments around the pool, which is AA, BB, CC, and DD.
Mhm.
And then we did the rest of the double letters. So all the double letters came with this piece of property.
So they're the second phase of the property,
Yes.
right? I guess
Yeah.
we would
They
say.
were the second phase.
Okay.
Okay, and then as you go on down Valley View, down towards Don Nealon Drive, on the left-hand side where 950, 952 are,
Mhm.
and all the way to the road, there was a guy that owned that property. It was a gentleman and his wife, and you know, every football game, they'd go out and put their stripe lines on the field and the grass for people to park in. And then down at the end, there was a bar that they leased out to.
Which is now the guest lot.
It's
No,
the guest lot, yeah, it was
Oh.
down in there, and it was the guy that owned Novacek's, Denny, that just passed away, that was his bar.
Wow.
And so Denny was down there, and he had the bar, and they had the field, and then Denny's lease came up, and they only wanted, because they were very religious, and they only wanted him to have beer, not liquor, and it wouldn't work for just beer. So I talked to the guy, went down there one day, and I was helping him put his lines in. I said, have you ever thought about retiring? He said, we have thought about it. So we worked out a deal with them, and we bought all the property on the other side of 984.
Mm-hmm.
So that going down that way, the second brick house down there, this old stone house
Mhm.
in front of 959, from there down all the way to the road we bought off of him.
So that's phase 3 there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's phase 3, which was the 950, 952 building, which we built in there. We rehabbed the old brick house a little bit,
Mhm.
and then we did the 918 building
Yeah.
down there with the parking lot, and then we kept the visitors lot there.
Yep.
So we wanted to have visitors parking because nobody else has it, and we find out that everybody wants to use it. We don't want them to use it because we want them to live here if they want to use it. So
Absolutely.
there's points in time that we have to monitor it, but since COVID, a lot of people park there and work at the hospital, and they're doing their job, so we haven't enforced that as we had before.
Now, not only, I mean, you're right next to the stadium, you have to deal with the parking issue as well.
Yeah.
Now, you do have people that pay to park here, but you also have.
They don't pay to park here, they live here.
Well,
The
they,
parking is free.
that's right, the
Yeah,
people that.
the
they-
parking is
It's theirs.
Well, unless they're bad.
Yeah, well, then they lose
If
their-
they're bad, then they could lose their parking, yes.
Um,
Like going to timeout, you just don't have a place to park your car.
So we have Aerostar, which is over there.
That's what
by-
I own personally,
And that's over by the hospital
and down on McLean Avenue.
and down on McLean. Then we have this property, which is CZS.
Yeah.
Correct? This is
Yeah.
you, Stevie, and Cliff together.
Yes, this side, yes.
This side.
The CZS is Cliff, Zip, and Steve.
Yeah, and that's how we get the name CZS.
Yeah.
Cliff.
Correct.
Zip,
But
and
now
Steve.
it's all Dark Knight.
And then so this isn't the only property that you also have on the
Well-
other side of the mile ground, you have Whisper, you have
Well, we're not
Chateau
done
2.
there yet.
We have Chateau 2, I forgot, I got ahead of myself.
Yes, you are. You're awful quick. So across the street is Chateau 2. So there was, it was vacant, and we found out who the guy was that owned it, and we called him about selling it to us. And it took, a month and a half
to get him to,
He was out of the state. Had the property, was very poor and not knowledgeable. And so I was trying to explain to him that we wanted to buy the property, and he kept saying, well, I don't have any money to pay. I said, well, you don't have to pay.
no, we're gonna pay
Here,
you.
we're paying you $230,000 for all that property there, and we'll give it to you.
Mhm.
And then all you have to do is pay your taxes on it or whatever you gotta do. He didn't understand that. I mean, it took me a long time to explain to him. And this guy, really nice guy, but he showed up, rode the bus to Morgantown to make the transaction. And when he came in, you could tell what he ate for the last week because it was all over his shirt.
Mhm.
But a great guy. So we made that deal. So we had that property, and then we bought the property over here. So we were working on that. So in order for us to be able to complete everything down here in a timely manner, we sold that property over there to Robbie Dallas.
Mhm.
And so Robbie, I did not build those over there. Robbie Dallas built those over here, him and Larry Hayes.
Mhm.
So they built them, and then we finished our project here. So as time went on, Robbie was a big stock guy. He was one of the first people that realized that Mexicans would have to have phones. So he bought a lot of stock in phones, like 15 cents. And he bought a bunch of it and still
And now it's
he
just,
still owns it, yeah. So anyway, he wanted to he started building some townhouses up here, going up the hill on the left-hand side. And he was tired. He wanted to move to Florida, and he likes going to snowshoes. So I said, okay, well, let's make a deal here. How about if I get two of my friends, which is Joey and Pokey Weiss, to take over your project up here with the townhouses? And in turn, we'll go ahead and buy your apartments off of you.
Yeah.
So he sold out to them, and they built those townhouses there. And then we bought his apartments down here so he could leave town. Okay, so we're to there now. Now, where do you want to go?
that's a pretty good way to leave town, though.
Yeah, it was a good way. You didn't ride the bus. It was
You
good.
didn't ride the bus and you didn't know what he had for dinner for the.
Oh, no, Robbie does. He has one of those we call white beater shirts, but yeah, he has one of those. He still wears it.
I have mine on.
He only has two of those too.
Well,
So
I have
30 years later, he still wears
I have a
it.
work one, I have a dress one, and I have a casual.
That's what he got.
So, so now how do we go from the properties that we've covered to the property out over, I guess, past the
Well,
mile
Whisper
ground?
Creek.
Whisper Creek.
That's on in line. So
Oh,
what
it's
is
more?
in line? Yes, we own two properties in Fairmont. So we build and retain. So they built a place down there called the Field of Dreams, right on the Grafton or Taylor Marion County line.
Mhm.
And we made an agreement down there to where we bought property and we went in and put apartments up down there, which is called Chateau South.
So that's where Chateau's out. See, I'm learning things.
Yeah, so Chateau South, we built apartments down there. They are very similar to what we have at the end of Whisper Creek now.
Okay.
The very end.
Now is Chateau South more your
They're adults.
adult families?
They're adult
or,
families, yeah.
or single people starting their whatever?
More adult families.
Okay.
Okay. So we built that there. And then some doctors had some property that were called the Villages.
Mhm.
And they wanted to get out. They were doctors here in Morgantown. They had made investments in there, but they wanted to get out. So we negotiated with them and we bought the Villages off of them. So
And that's
we
in
put-
Fairmont as well.
That is in Fairmont. Villages is right by the ball
Mhm.
on 73.
Mhm.
And then the other one, Chateau South, is down on the Taylor County line and the Marion County line. But the kids go to Marion County schools down there. That was a big deal at that time.
Well, and before we were recording, I asked you the question specifically for Morgantown, as
Yeah.
I'm new to Morgantown, how does the change go?
Yeah.
So you dealt with that down there as well, which,
We ended up buying that off the doctor. So that gave us enough to be able to have an office
Mhm.
and stuff down there. So recently, within the last year, we bought 5 acres, which is right by the Villages, and we planned on building 100 1 and 2 bedroom units there, but when the market changed, you can't do it.
You roll with it, and
Well, you can't. There's no supply chain. You can't find people to work. It's just not the thing you want to do to go build, because building's so much more expensive now, and you don't want to steal from Peter to pay Paul. We want every project of ours to be independent, even though they are joined at the hip. Every project is independent. Every project has their own managers. They have their own office, although the central office is here in Chateau.
now, does Washington come before Whisper? Because I don't
Yes,
get it.
Washington came
So
before
how do we
Whisper.
end up in Washington, Pennsylvania?
Well, I was dating my now wife, and I would go up there to pick her up, and I keep looking around Washington. She lived right up the road from Racetrack Road with her parents, and she didn't live with her parents, but that's where her parents were from. And so I kept driving up there, and I kept saying, "Wow, there's no apartments up here. Nothing's been built new here."
Mm.
And then I started looking at the overall geographics and everything, and nothing was built there. And I just felt that really it would be an advantage to us to be able to do it. So right along 19, the Dick family had that big piece of property there, and nobody was buying it because the two pieces of property up the road on 19, where they have on both sides of the road there, they have the different stores that they have there. Well, those people, there was one person that was doing this and another company doing this. And so they decided to go together instead of being in competition. So that sort of left them out. So we negotiated out 26 acres with the Dick family to go there. At the same time, we own Triple S Harley Davidson. So the three S's were Stevie, Cliff, and myself.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at the one up in Washington. So we ended up starting construction there. And then about maybe a year and a half later, we ended up buying the Harley dealership up there, which was Falcone's.
Which is now has everything pretty much built around it. I mean, that is, they have, it's gone from a Walmart to everything you can think of is down that road.
Yeah, everything's down there. And where we are on Racetrack Road, you don't even know that there's a town or a city there.
No.
But 2 minutes down the road, you got everything you need to do. So that is when we started up there. And then
what year are we talking for Washington?
don't ask, I don't know.
A couple years ago?
No, I mean, it's probably 14 years old now.
Okay.
Yeah. See, we build and retain. So I do all the building, and I have subcontractors that work, and I have very good subcontractors, very good friends, and they take care of me. And so we do all that stuff. The same guys do the earthwork, same guys do the plumbing. We partnered up with Kluss Lumber Company, Chris Kluss, and a great guy, great family. And we bought our lumber off of them, and then we had their framing crews come in and frame, and we used these two brothers to frame all the stuff down here.
And you're very big on local. You seem to be, at least. It's very.
We're family oriented. We're area oriented.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of stuff, different things to provide. We always put a nice gym in every one of our complexes so people can go there and work out. We always put a nice pool that we do, and we always put a nice clubhouse. And we do really nice clubhouses, and people, the clubhouses, they use them for functions. They use them for parties, Christmas things. We have families that go in here because the apartments aren't big, and they use it. They can cook there. They got fireplaces in them. I mean, they're very nice. They're like 4,000 square feet. A lot of people have baby showers there.
Well, and they're beautiful. I mean, the one at Whisper, which we're going to get
Right.
to,
And it's modeled off the one at Stone Creek.
Okay.
It's modeled, it's just made different, but it's the same building, but we finished all the bottom. There was no downstairs in that one.
So how do we get there? How do we get to Whisper? So we're now here downtown. We get water.
A real estate agent called me and said, I got property on South Pierpont Road. Are you interested? And there's a family, their father had just passed away. The kids want to sell it. And so that's how we got there. So we went out, looked at the property, did some quick studies on it, and we made them an offer and we bought it.
Now, the plan, because from what I know from out there, it's almost, it's very exclusive, but it's not. It's you're away from everything, but you're also
Very similar to Stone Creek. Very
15
similar,
minutes, get on the road.
Very similar to Fairmont. You know, they're outside of the zones.
And that's the goal, right? Is to
We
give
want
you
a higher end unit. When we first started building apartments over here, and I had been building at Airstar, and I said, okay, a 2-bedroom is about 1,150 square feet, a 3-bedroom is 1,300. Why do you want to make them that big?
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, you need to make them that big, because over time, right now, kids are going to study hall, they're going to the library. Sooner or later, they're going to be doing stuff at their house. So we were able to build stuff big enough that when everybody got computers and their desk and they were doing everything, our apartments were already big enough to do that.
Now, not only do you have the apartments and the business side, but there's a philanthropy side to you as well. Correct. There's a lot of philanthropy work that you're involved in around town, from what I've been told.
Well, I do a lot of stuff around town. Yes, I don't.
And that's not just
we do a lot of stuff, and you know some of the stuff that we do. But yes, we're involved in the community in a lot of different ways. But primarily, I was involved in the community by taking young kids and developing them for sports and athletics, taking kids to play basketball at a different level, taking kids to play baseball when they were younger at a different level, to give them an opportunity to go to college and play sports, work with the girls' basketball team.
Well, let's talk about you were a coach. You were an AAU coach for a little bit.
No, I wasn't an AAU coach.
You were the AAU
I was
coach.
the
I've seen the trophy. I looked at it.
Yeah.
I also played some AAU basketball.
Yeah.
I didn't see a trophy like that. So
Well, we won 2 national titles. So if that tells you anything, so kids from Morgantown that we played when we were 5th graders, we won the national championship in Las Vegas.
wow.
And when we were in 9th grade, the kids were in 9th grade, we won the national championship out of Virginia. I mean, it was for the whole country. So we had kids, but we practiced twice a week. Our thing was we worked on fundamentals. We developed kids. A lot of these teams had hot shots that flew in from all different places, but they never played together.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were very fortunate. And baseball, we had a travel baseball team, and our team that was 13 years old ended up 3rd in the nation. And we would go to tournaments and play. But at the end of the day, my goal was to give kids an opportunity to go to college.
Because
like
as you said at the
Morgantown,
beginning.
right? They need fundamentals. Everybody wants to play. Every coach that coaches grade school wants to be a middle school coach. Every middle school coach wants to be a high school coach, and every high school coach wants to be a college coach. But they don't work on fundamentals. They want to run 50 plays. You don't need 50 plays.
You need 4 maybe.
You know, we run a motion offense, and that's what we ran, pass and cut, and that's what we did. Morgantown High, the girls, you know, I would take them on weekends because I could. The coach couldn't take them, but I could, and with his permission. And I worked on them, and I worked on drills and ball handling drills, and you know, I could take these kids and I could show them, here's what we worked on, and here's the film from the game you played in. Look, this is a move you never made before. You know, they had the rondo move. You know, they had just different things that we would work on. And of course, Morgantown I won 3 straight basketball championships, and Olivia Sagi, who was just a really great little guard, and she was over as a sophomore, and she's playing JV, and I went to the varsity guy. I said, Adam, why? She needs to be playing varsity. Well, she'll know. You need her now.
You don't need to wait.
You don't need her now. And then he brought her up, and then, you know, we worked together a lot, and it was great. And all those kids that we worked with, 48 of the kids I worked with went to college to play sports in some way or another.
And at the end of the day, that was your goal, as we talked about it from the beginning, why you went to WVU to get your degree and why you ended up getting your master's is the education is what as long as you have the opportunity for the education, it's what you make out of that education. It's not just.
No education is ever wasted. And it's what you make out of it. You can go to an Ivy League school, you can go here, and it's what you put into it, what you get out of it. And it comes back to DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has DNA. People are like water. No matter where you put them, they're going to seek their own level.
So let me ask you, we've covered what the properties are now. We've covered a little bit of who you are.
Yeah.
What's the plan for the future?
Well, the plan for the future is very simple. We have some of our kids, Stevie and I do, and Cliff, and not every kid is the same, so not every kid has those opportunities. But right now we're teaching our kids and we're putting them in a position to be successful and start to take over the business, because we don't sell anything. We keep it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you sell it, you cap it.
That's it.
And yeah, when this way it just keeps going. So we've done all of our estate planning. We've got our kids all in a position to where they can be successful. You know, I have 3 kids, and everyone is successful, but in a different way. They're not in the same way. So we have Cody, which is my youngest son here, who trained for 4 years while he went to college to be able to take over Chateau. And we have Stephen, who started with us and played basketball at Fairmont State, Solomon, and he came here last August, so he's been here about a year now. So he's learning and he's training. So my job, just like in basketball, is to get them ready for the next level.
That's a pretty good. You caught me off guard there. You stopped where I was getting ready. I was thinking about my question.
Yeah.
So not anything to do with other than the fact that I know you're a sports fan.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned one of our next week's guests, which is Stephen Solomon.
Yeah.
He pointed out that you are a Yankees fan.
Oh yeah. My dad was a Yankees fan.
How did you feel seeing 62 go over the wall?
Well, just think about this for a second, okay? Follow the whole scenario. And I won't get it all because there's a lot of things out there. So you've got Roger Maris, who hit 61 home runs, right? 61 years later, Judge hit 61 home runs. Number 9, number 99. Okay, so those things are comparison, and there's other ones, and then you come into last night. Okay, so what happens last night? Judge hits 62, and the guy on the MLB network, he kept saying, "Look, what time's that game start?" And that guy says 8:05. He said 8:08. He's going to be sitting in the dugout, and he's already hit 62. Guy says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I believe it. I feel it. It's going to happen." First swing out, there's where it went. So now you've got 62, and Judge has hit 62. So at the end of the day, what do we have? The Yankee
are 99 and 62.
99, which is Judge's number, and 62 home run. You know, and they could have won that game. It would have blew that whole story apart. And there's other parallel things. Unbelievable.
This morning I was watching ESPN and they were covering how all the numbers and the stats.
Yeah, and there's even some I forgot.
And the anchor for the 6 o'clock Sports Center goes, "Well, if the Yankees would have put a couple runs across the board, I guess we wouldn't be telling this story." But
they did.
Here's and it was 99 and 62.
Yeah. And the story is they had Garrett Cole up here, who is a great pitcher, has a lot of strikeouts, but he's given up 34 home runs this year. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out who my roster is going to be, you know.
Yeah.
Mine will be better than his. The coaches will, trust me.
Now, my only other question, and this is something I happened to see, we were at your pool house a couple weeks ago.
Working.
I was in fact.
Trying to get the ladder up here so we can fix the ceiling leak, so we can have the engagement party.
I saw some jerseys, and there was one that stood out to me.
Okay.
And I don't see his jersey in here specifically, but it's Kobe.
Well, we had that fire here.
Yeah.
So all the pictures that were here, before,
Mhm.
got the story.
Well, and these two jerseys aren't bad either. You got Jerry West and Magic Johnson there, which are, you know,
Well,
the NBA
Jerry,
logo. And,
Jerry West, when I was little, really little,
yeah.
back when you could walk downtown and be 6 years old. Now you can't be 32 and walk downtown, but
I know.
I used to be able to sneak out and go down to the field house and sneak into the games to watch him play.
Here at
Yeah.
WVU.
Yeah, down where they built that new building
Mhm.
down there, that used to be the field house. And I used to go down there and I'd stand out there and be a little dumb kid. People give me a ticket. Hey, you want a ticket? Yeah, I want a ticket. You know, and I could walk home after the game. You can't do that now.
No,
But,
so how did you? Because I saw it's autographed. Did you meet Kobe for that jersey? Or was that something that you bought? Or?
well, we have met Kobe.
Okay.
Yes, we have. And to even give you a better story, we went from here, because I take Cody, Steven, and Nikki, and we would go to the games. We'd go up to Cleveland and watch LeBron and then play.
Mhm.
We got to talk to LeBron before, but we went to the very last game that Michael Jordan ever played, which was over in Washington. He got hurt that year.
With the Wizards.
With the
when
Wizards.
He hurts the knee.
And when he got hurt, and he's standing up there on the thing, and the kids are up there talking to him. Yeah, just like a regular guy. They're just,
Mhm.
hell, they don't know. They're kids. They talk to anybody. You know what I mean? But we drove all the way over to see the game. So we made a lot of different trips. And I before COVID, for Christmas, the 3 or 4 years before that, I would get them a ticket to whenever they had the championship
Mhm.
games. So they had been to the LA, the championship game, you know, and they got pictures
Toronto.
of-
I think Steven showed me.
They went to Toronto.
We talked
yes.
about
So that was
being
what
there.
I would get them as a Christmas gift. You know, to get them there, and they went over to Cleveland twice,
Mhm.
you know, and then stayed there, and
And
they had a great time.
Well,
But
being
that's
there
important.
For Michael's last game, and I think a lot of people forget the Wizards years.
Yeah.
Or people try to forget the Wizards years, and I think that's a little shot for Michael because for his age, he was still producing until he gets hurt.
Well,
Not at the level of what Michael was, but
baseball hurt him.
yeah.
He had a thing that he wanted to play baseball, and he had an itch, and he needed to satisfy that itch. But that itch took two
2 years.
championships away from him.
So we agree on that. That's 8 years in a row if he doesn't walk away. That Bulls team goes.
The Bulls, hey, listen, they had a great coach. They had great players. And by the way, Scottie Pippins isn't as good as everybody thinks he is. Michael made Scottie Pippins. And Scottie Pippins didn't make Michael.
No, I agree. I'm a Michael guy.
But the way that things went, I mean, look at the centers they had. There was nothing on fire there. They were just big guys that blocked everybody out.
Luke Longley, and I mean,
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman was a hell of a defender and a hell of a rebounder, but he couldn't score for anything.
And then
He didn't have
they had to go out to Vegas to get him to come and play that one tournament.
We find out that Phil Jackson just said, as long as you're back for practice,
But
man, that's
they
all.
had to get back. They had to go get him.
Michael had to go get.
Yeah.
Imagine that, Michael not being. Come on, Dennis, we got to.
Yeah.
So, well, we've come to the end. Is there anything else that you would like to tell anybody about the properties, how they can get in touch with you or
Well, they can
Chateau?
obviously call the office at Chateau if they have any interest in renting an apartment, or, you know, the other thing is if anybody's looking for knowledge and any of the things, whether it's sports or apartments or anything like that, or, you know, what do you do when your leg gets amputated? Yeah, give me a call.
Yeah, I can tell you this, Zip is a lot of things. Not forthcoming is not one of them. He will tell you whether you want to hear it or not, and he's gonna let you know it, but it helps. It does,
Sure.
it does.
Yeah.
So Zip.
There's
thank
a
you.
kind way to do things, you know.
Well, I'm a more direct guy. I enjoy that you're very direct and you say, when you say it, this is what I want, and just do it.
And the other thing is, for people, there's a lot of young people out there that need your help now. And there's a lot of things in Morgantown that could use your help. And just remember that the more you help, the more you get help. And God will always look over you.
Well, I think that's a good place to end right there.
Yep.
So I am Carlo Guadagnino, Zip Shearer. This has been DingoTalk. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok on the social media side. The only place you have to look differently is Instagram. It's Dingo_talk instead of DingoTalk. all one word. And then you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, basically everywhere you can find podcasts available. We're here every Thursday at 10 a.m. You can check out this episode and the other episodes before then. Thank you again very much, sir, for taking time out of your evening after the gym.
All right,
So,
yeah, I had to get my workout in.
And we'll catch you next week, Chuckleheads.
You wanna